Hi guys, we're live and welcome to Play It by Ear Radio, where we're broadcasting our inquiry topics through a series of interviews. So my topic is about food, culture and identity, and I thought the perfect person to interview would be Ting, who, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Tien. I am one of the owners of a Vietnamese restaurant in Peckham called Ban Ban. It's owned by five of us. We're all brothers and sisters. And we've been open for about 7 years now. And our restaurant is like a homage to our grandma, who was like an amazing chef in Saigon in like the 1940s, 1950s. And it's basically kind of like our interpretation of the food that we grew up eating.
Yeah, great. So leading from that, what kind of food did you grow up eating? Like, where did you eat and who did you eat with?
So food was a big focus in our family growing up. Our parents came over in the 80s after the Vietnam War. And so we lived in a tiny little flat in Peckham. It was like just a 2-bedroom flat, and there was like 7 of us. No, there were 8 of us actually. So like 5 kids, our grandma, our parents, and so food was always kind of a big thing. Our grandma, because our parents worked, our grandma would just like cook and make these like massive feasts, and it would kind of all like bring us together.
Yeah.
And because the house was so small, we didn't even have a big dining table, so we'd just like eat on this like tarp on the floor. But it'd be like always like a massive spread, and just like just squatting, eating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we always ate together, and it was always like a big feast.
Yeah. Was it like a lot of talking, or like in my family you kind of do the same thing, but it's just very like, I don't know, all you can hear is just like slurping.
I think there's not so much talking. It's more kind of like, because there's so many of us like fighting over the food.
Oh, okay.
If ever there was a fish, everyone would want to fight over the fish head or
Oh,
the fish
really?
eyes. Yeah. But yeah, I think within our, because we grew up here and our parents obviously grew up in Vietnam, it was, we didn't really talk much, but we mainly spoke through food in a way. So, our parents didn't really speak that much English, and we did speak, we do speak Vietnamese, but it's just not very
Yeah, it's
well.
the same with me.
But food was always kind of like the language that was
Yeah.
spoken. So even though we wouldn't really converse much over dinner would always be very enjoyable because we kind of spoke through eating.
Okay, that's lovely. So you grew up in the UK, but then you've got your Vietnamese cultural background. Did you find there was any like cultural barrier that you had to overcome in terms of food, or like was there a balance between UK and Vietnam that you had to?
I think there's always kind of a push and pull in terms of like our kind of cultural identity and how we felt. We obviously grew up feeling very westernized here, but when people see you, they go kind of like, oh, well, you don't really look, you're not Western, are you?
Yeah.
You're Vietnamese. But obviously, when you go back to Vietnam, it's like you're very. Everyone's like,
That's
you're
the
English,
opposite.
you're not Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it is a kind of, it's really hard because I think growing up, you're always like, I should be one or the other. But now you kind of like come to terms with like, you don't have to be one or the other. It's like, it's like a hybrid of
Yeah.
cultures. But I think growing up, it was quite tough because
Oh,
ice
yeah, my
gems and
favourite.
crisps and sandwiches, and then when they come to like our parties, it'd be like spring rolls and chicken wings, and I'd be like to my mom, I'd be like, I just want party rings. I don't
Yeah,
want
exactly,
anything
I don't want
different.
any of
I don't want
that.
anybody to like to think of us as different. But now, obviously, like growing up, all my friends have just been like, "No, your parties were the best because we got
Yeah.
spring rolls, we got like
Yeah.
all like amazing Vietnamese food, which we didn't really appreciate back then, because we were kind of embarrassed because we were just like, oh, it's just so different to everyone else.
Yeah.
But now, kind of like, you know, one of the reasons why we opened up the restaurant was all of our friends would always, you know, come over for food, and our parents would. Obviously, like I said, my mum didn't really speak much English, but they kind of like spoke through food. So it would always be, they'd always say to my friends, "Are you hungry? Have you eaten?" And, you know, I think a big part of Vietnamese culture is making sure like our bellies are full, we're well fed, and so that's the kind of way of like, even though my parents didn't really speak English, the way to kind of communicate with my friends, it was like, let's just feed you, make sure you're like satisfied and happy.
Yeah, they kind of also never say like "I love you" either. They just
Yeah.
pass you like fruit or something.
Yeah,
like that. So,
and it's like, you know, instead of like being kind of like the way of showing emotion, I guess, is through kind of like, you know, cutting up fruit really nicely and just like serving it to you and your friends and stuff. So yeah, that was so that's kind of like why we decided to open up the restaurant. And kind of so our recipes are just like a homage to our grandma, like we said. And so she's passed away now, but she had this like book of recipes that she kind of it's like really tatty now, but it's like over 100 pages of like her recipes. And yeah, we just kind of adapted them. And yeah, it's great kind of seeing people enjoy Vietnamese food like just as much as we did and do now.
Yeah, so obviously it's inspired by your grandma. Did she kind of teach you how to cook when you were growing up, or do you think it's something that's come like naturally? Because some people describe it as like a blood memory. It's like food that you grew up with, that's kind of ingrained, like, I don't know, in you. So
I think I would say our grandma passed away, I think, when we were teenagers. So she didn't really teach us so much, but I would do things like I would roll the spring rolls and stuff like that, and kind of just like be her little like sous chef. And when we decided to open up the restaurant, it was more my grandma taught my mum and my mum taught us, and that was actually a really nice way of connecting with my mum as well, because like I say, because our cultures are, you know, culturally, me and my mum are very different. So, you know, it's really, I think it's quite hard to connect with parents if you're like a second generation. You know, so this was actually a really nice way to connect with her. And, you know, she would teach us and tell us stories about our grandma, and that was really nice, because I feel like it has kind of food brought us closer. And we kind of connected in a way that we never would have if we didn't connect through her, you know, her teaching us the recipes that our grandma taught her.
Okay, so it's a lovely story. So yeah, it's very personal to you, and obviously like the dishes are as well, but you mentioned that you've kind of adapted them. Do you think, like, is it quite difficult to keep that authenticity as well without, like, I don't know, do you keep up with the trends in food as well? How do you find that balance?
Yeah, so I say I do, and I don't struggle with, I guess, the word like authenticity, because we do get a lot of people not a lot of people, like some people who will come and eat at the restaurant and they say, I've been to Vietnam, this isn't exactly how I had it, and or like this, I don't think this is authentic Vietnamese food. And it's really hard to kind of like know and explain actually what is authentic, because what is authentic to us is what we grew up eating. So it's kind of like, this is authentic because this is our memory of growing up eating Vietnamese foods, and what's authentic to someone else could be completely different. And obviously, like, we are Southern Vietnamese, so it's different regions, like different tastes of food. Even like, you know, the way that they make their nuoc mam, which is the fish sauce dressing, is different, completely different from the north to the south.
Pho as well, like they've got pho gat and like pho.
And things like, you know, toppings that you would have in pho. And you know, some regions like their food a bit sweeter and stuff. So it is kind of hard to kind of explain like authenticity. I think in kind of any kind of cuisine. But for us, we're kind of just like, well, as long as we're kind of, this is authentic to us. And so we do try to be authentic, but also try to be a bit modern as well. We go back to Vietnam, well, not at the moment, but we do try to go to Vietnam like once a year just to kind of see what is, what's new. Because I think, you know, there is like very traditional Vietnamese food, but there's like the food coming out of Vietnam at the moment is a lot more modern. They have a lot more kind of like influences, obviously traditionally like from like the French influence, but also from other neighbouring countries as well. And so the food is changing quite a bit. And they actually do have a lot more like Western influences in their food. And so where we do try to keep our food quite traditional, we do kind of like to add like little modern twists to kind of reflect the fact that we are Vietnamese, but with Western at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, so because obviously like travel to Vietnam is a lot more popular now. It's very much on like the tourist map. And I don't know, sometimes I get messages from my friends saying, oh, I made like a vegan pho, when I would say pho is not really vegan, but it's quite interesting how people like change these recipes, and it's like kind of bittersweet in a way. But would you agree with the fact that people can kind of like own recipes, or do you think they're just open to interpretation?
I feel like I feel like you can't be too precious about ownership, because things are changing, and things change all the time, and you kind of have to adapt. So I would say I would say I don't think you can really own, or anything can. I don't think you can really own a dish, or you can really say something is 100% authentic, because everything is everyone, and everything is like so unique. Where everybody will always kind of have like a certain way that they want things to taste, or like a certain way that they cook things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me to interview today.
No
We've got to wrap it up. But just to like end it off, what's your favourite dish on your menu, and what would you recommend everyone to eat when they come over?
I would say probably. Oh, it's really hard. I would say probably the Bangkok pancakes.
Oh yeah,
which is really nice. Rice flour, turmeric, coconut batter with prawns in the middle, and you've got lots of like herbs and leaves, and you wrap it around. And it's really messy, but it's really delicious.
Yeah. So if you want to check them out, they're in Peckham Rye, and Brixton as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Brixton as well. So yeah, thank you.
Lovely, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Right, team. So today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Go, which is the game you might remember from the 2016 summer craze. But there are people that still play it. And today we're joined by Pava, who is an avid player of Pokemon Go. And I became interested in Pokemon Go because I'm doing an essay about how the physical space is changing as a result of the digital. And I sort of became interested in the quirks of Pokemon Go and sort of the stranger things about it. For example, the random nature in which Pokemons are distributed, such as there's one on the North Korean border, there's one at a Holocaust memorial, and there's one at the Westboro Baptist Church headquarters and Auschwitz. But more specifically, we're going to be talking to Pava about how he plays it and whereabouts do you usually play Pokemon Go?
I think most of the time I just do it when I'm like moving around. So if I'm like taking transport somewhere, I do find that if I'm like sat down, like if I go to the pub or something, like people will just be having a conversation. I'll just quickly put my phone out to scan what's
Just
around.
always on the Pokemon vibe.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's whenever I have like a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I'll try and just sneak a little minute because that's the thing is unless you're like kind of going out to do it, you don't have much time. So like it's just getting it done.
Yeah. Do you play it in London or do you play it in whereabouts?
Anywhere,
location?
really anywhere. Like normally, like obviously when I'm in London, I'll be on my phone. But if I'm actually like back home out of London, then I'll actually go out to play Pokemon. Rather than like in London, I'll only do it when I kind of have a minute. But when I'm back home, there's not much to do. I'll actually go out
more
and try and
active on
find
it.
some. Yeah.
That's cool. How long have you been playing it?
So obviously I first got it when there was that huge craze and everyone got it.
Back in
But then
2016.
then I deleted it until about 2018 because one of my friends had started playing it.
Yeah.
And I've basically been playing it pretty much since 2018.
That's cool.
Like off and on, like most, like at least for the last year and a half, I've been playing it pretty much 5 times a week.
And have you ended up in any random places as a result of pursuing a Pokemon?
When I'm at home, because I live near the seafront, I'll normally go to, because they actually do change like what kind of Pokemon are in different areas. So if I'm trying to catch like water type Pokemon, I'll purposely go towards the sea.
Yeah.
But apart from kind of ending up at the sea, not really, not huge.
Whereabouts are you from originally?
Do you know where Hastings is?
Yeah.
On the south coast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you're on
it's
like
down there.
a nice coastal region to
Yeah,
play Pokemon.
Exactly.
Is it thriving with Pokemon in that area?
I feel like the best places are definitely cities.
Yeah.
I think because they know there's more people playing in cities,
Yeah.
they put like a lot more Pokemon. So I would say probably you find better Pokemon in the city, but
Yeah.
it's just I think it's nicer walking around in the countryside.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of do it more there.
Yeah, because I remember I was looking into a thing and it was like they kind of left out rural players quite a bit because most of them were stuck in the cities. But would you say that like you've been out in like unfavourable conditions just to pursue a Pokemon?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the time when I'm back home, if I go out to play it, it'll be at like kind of 3 or 4 in the morning, like whether it's like raining or like anything. Just because I think
When you'll still go out in the rain?
Yeah. I think it's nice. I quite like the rain, so I don't know if that's like kind of a slight bias to me because I like the rain. But I think it's nice just going. Like it kind of forces me to go on walks. And I like kind of going at night just because there's not as many people, and it's just. I think it's just nice being like seeing the world in different.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting because you're like going out just to pursue a Pokemon is definitely different to just going on a walk.
Yeah, but I kind of combine. I'm like, I want to go on a
Exactly,
walk
and
and
you
just
get a
kind
bit
of
of exercise.
aids me. Yeah.
Would you say that when you're doing those walks, you're doing different walks, like you're doing a random route that you wouldn't have usually done, or is it
No, I'll
you're
normally
going on a set walk?
I'll normally stick to the same sort of walk because I'm trying to put my Pokemon in gyms because that's how you get coins, so you can buy like different things in the game.
Is that a case of dropping them off?
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to fight the gym and drop your Pokemon. The longer it stays there. So if you go at night, you kind of already have 12 hours before anyone else wakes up to do it. So that's kind
So
of.
if you've got a bit of conflict in your area.
Yeah, luckily the team I'm on seems to be kind of winning in my area back home.
Nice.
But there's definitely some tactics there for the
definitely.
walking at night.
Does he get a bit? You ever been in a Pokemon fight?
Yeah.
Of any sort?
Only with like friends. Like, I still have a couple of friends like that play it.
Yeah.
So whenever I meet up with them, like in the holidays and stuff,
There's a bit of war.
We'll train and then we'll fight. So
Yeah,
kind of,
perfect. Nice. but yeah, would you say you're pretty addicted? Or like, are you the most addicted you've ever been, or like, was there definitely a point where you were like, I was just definitely the most addicted then?
I think I probably I feel like addiction. I don't know if addiction is the right word for it, but I definitely play it like pretty much every day. And I think sometimes like the people around me are like, oh, like, what are you doing? And then they, like, all my friends kind of comment on the fact that I still play Pokemon. They're like, what isn't that like 2018?
That's the funny thing. It seems to be like, because when I first started doing the project, I was like, I'm a bit worried that I wouldn't be able to find anyone because most people played it back in 2016.
Yeah.
And it felt like there was like not many people that still played it. But I mean, you still play it.
Yeah, I think the reason is, I think in 2018 or 19 they added a bunch of new features, like being able to fight your friends and train and stuff. So I think that kind of brought like a resurgence of people.
Resurged the hype.
Like it just got really stale when it came out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's why there was a lot of influx.
Yeah, there's definitely like I said, like I didn't think I was going to be able to find many people, but the funny thing was, like, I put out a thing on my social media asking for people, and like the response back, like, they are out there. They're just sort of like quite quiet about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. But yeah, no. I put a survey with a bunch of questions up on Reddit, and like I was just getting responses from all over the globe.
Yeah.
People that are just
still
crazy for it. It's pretty mad. But I heard. Do you reckon like I think they changed it, but over COVID, so that you could play it indoors? Or I heard they altered the app. Oh mate.
What is it? So
I think you could play it from home, or like you didn't have to go out and.
Oh, I haven't seen that feature.
Maybe
I haven't been looking.
I'm not even clued up enough about Pokemon to be asking that. But do you reckon like COVID had a big impact on like more people playing it, or do you think maybe less?
I'm not too sure. I feel like maybe more people played it because there wasn't much else to do, and it kind of gave you a reason to go out on walks.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if it had an effect on my play. I think at that time I was playing less than I am at the moment.
Oh really?
I think maybe just I don't know. I couldn't tell you what sort of effect COVID had on it.
Yeah, and also the other thing I sort of found in my research was that it's like the app in itself is really unlike, or like the phenomena of it is really unlike anything that's ever happened with like social media bringing people together. Because I read this whole essay about how Pokemon Go like was bringing strangers together and like informing really natural, organic friendships because people were meeting in the same locations. Would you say that you've made any friends as a result of playing Pokemon, or ever like met anyone when you're out?
I definitely have met people because like the way you get some like really good Pokemon is you have to like defeat them in a gym.
Yeah.
But they're not like player Pokemon. They're ones but you have to do it together with people. So you physically have to go to the space, which means you meet other people.
Yeah.
And with some of them, you have to do them with other people to be able to like do it. So I definitely, I haven't personally kind of made friends from it. I know.
But you know people that have. Yeah.
I have a friend in Bristol who like would go out like round a lot, and he said he like made a few friends.
Yeah,
he would
that's
like
cool.
go out together with them because of it, and find gyms to like defeat.
Yeah.
So it hasn't happened to me. I definitely know that it is
possible.
Yeah.
It's out there. But yeah, that's interesting. I just remember in the 2016 craze because I just remember how insane and nuts it was that I'm from like a really rural village in Oxford.
Yeah.
And there would be people like going out in like the worst conditions and ending up in like
you just see them walking around like
exactly
this.
and like literally in like the most random field like drenched in mud just because they caught a Pokemon. But yeah, no, I just remember, and also on YouTube like people would be meeting up in Times Square and there'd just be like a fucking like giant crowd of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Have you ever been part of that? It's like, have you ever met like, has there been like a massive crowd or like?
I think when it first came out, I had been in crowds. It was mostly like friends, and we'd be like, "Oh, we should all come together and try and get some Pokemon." Cool. But I think after the craze kind of ended, like it was harder for me to find friends that did it, and I never really like went out to find other people.
It seems more of a niche thing now.
Yeah. Like I've done it with like a few, like three of us before. Like we recently, like last winter, like me and a couple of friends like would go out and like get a Pokemon. But they're like the few people I kind of know that still play it.
Yeah.
But they're still into it even to today. So.
Would you say that like it doesn't really matter what the season is? You're sort of as active as you would be in winter as you are in summer.
Yeah, because I think
you still just go out regardless.
Yeah, especially because like I said, the style I play is kind of do it when I get a minute most of the time, and I'm always going places even in winter. So if I'm on the bus anywhere, whether it's winter or summer, I'm always gonna have like a minute to
sweet.
hop on and play.
Nice, man. But yeah, no. I actually forgot what my next question was. But that's literally just gone off the top of my head. But yeah, Pokemon, man. Great game. Great game. But yeah, I just can't remember what I was going to ask. Any questions? Yeah. Are you going to plan to keep playing it in the future, or just like?
Yeah.
What's the long-term goal with Pokemon?
I think the reason I really like it is just the idea of like collecting all these things.
Yeah.
When you do meet another person that plays Pokemon, it's so exciting because you can be like, oh, look what I have, and especially when you have like shinies and stuff, like you feel like really proud that you kind of spent this time going out and getting it. So I definitely plan, because I play it I play it constantly but quite passively, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like it's really easy, like I don't get bored of it. Like any other like game I've had on my phone, I just get really bored of because I'll play it a couple of times.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like managed to maintain its addictiveness. Because a lot of time when you're playing games, you sort of just play them for like a few months and then it sort of just wears off.
You're playing like constantly, but because you can't play this constantly, it kind of allows me to not get bored of it.
Yeah. I actually just remember my question, and it was, do you think that because less people play it now, it's made it easier to get Pokemons than at the start in 2016? Was it more of a, or is it still just...
Because I think all the individual Pokemon, it doesn't make a difference about other players. Yeah. And the like ones you have to catch from gyms is harder because you need to find people to do it with.
Right.
With the like more powerful ones. So I think if anything, it's maybe got harder to get a Pokemon, especially if you're not in a city.
Because I thought it was the case where it was like the more people that were playing it, the harder it would be. But maybe it's like maybe that's what ropes people in about it, because it's like you need people to play it.
There's not actually like when you see a Pokemon in the game, it's not just one between everyone. It's like everyone will see it.
Oh right, I see.
So it doesn't like affect other people.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, what about your friends? Are they like of a similar age playing it?
Yeah, so
are they been playing it as long as you?
Yeah, so I would say 4 friends who still play it. They're all my age or within a year. And they've all, I think one of them was the one that got me back into it in like 2018. Right. And then I got 2 of the others back into it, and the other one already played it. But I think like some of them similar to me, that they'll like maybe play it constantly for like a week or 2, and then suddenly like not for like a week. It's easy to come in and out of.
Yeah. Would you say it's like a game, or would you say it's more like would you like think of it as a game, or do you think of it more as a lifestyle thing now? Because the way you talk about it is like it's such a like part of your life. Not to make that sound. It sounds like it's part of your life.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's like a video game, like because I'm not making time like a lot of the time to play it. Like I'm not like putting off other things to play it. Yeah. I don't feel like a video game.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think that's probably what's so roping in about it, because it has that effect. But anyway, thanks so much for talking to us.
Yeah, of course.
Cheers for coming. I'm doing it at quite a short notice, but yeah, no, lovely, and Pokemon all the way. Pokemon all the way.
So, and I wanted to ask you, like, introduce yourself a little bit, just so people know your interests and what you do.
Of course, happy to do that. I'm doing National British American, lived in London for years. I've had books published on both sides of the Atlantic. So I started off my career as a journalist and later trained as a teacher in medicine, dual years. And I've lived all over the world, Africa, Europe, the United Kingdom and the USA. So I'm very much a globetrotter. And of course, I'm very much to this feminist and very active in the field of health activism as well. So that just sums it up.
So, as you know, my subject area is kind of searching the romanticization of certain aesthetics or talks to girls and just youth in general, especially focusing on Hollywood films, and delve into topics on appropriate relationships, self-image problems girls deal with, and also a specific example of how death is seen when it's beautiful women, and that's when it grabs attention. So I want to ask to some of these examples within media, what kind of twisted interaction do you think the audience get from seeing these images played out on screen?
Of course, I think very attractive, especially to teenagers and teenagers as well, get the mixed messages that frequently come through, not just Hollywood. I also blame social media, which has a profound impact the way people see themselves and have image and so on. But I date of this kind of glamorization and also sadism involved in imagery that comes through. And I refer back to one of the lead feminist Kate Miller's article in Marilyn Monroe that appeared in the 90s.
So, and I wanted to ask you, like, introduce yourself a little bit, just so people know your interests and what you do.
Of course, happy to do that. I'm doing National British American, lived in London for years. I've had books published on both sides of the Atlantic. So I started off my career as a journalist and later trained as a teacher in medicine, dual years. And I've lived all over the world, Africa, Europe, the United Kingdom and the USA. So I'm very much a globetrotter. And of course, I'm very much to this feminist and very active in the field of health activism as well. So that just sums it up.
So, as you know, my subject area is kind of searching the romanticization of certain aesthetics or talks to girls and just youth in general, especially focusing on Hollywood films, and delve into topics on appropriate relationships, self-image problems girls deal with, and also a specific example of how death is seen when it's beautiful. And I wanted to ask you, like, introduce yourself a little bit, just so people know your interests and what you do.
Of course, happy to do that. I'm doing National British American, lived in London for years. I've had books published on both sides of the Atlantic. So I started off my career as a journalist and later trained as a teacher in medicine, dual years. And I've lived all over the world, Africa, Europe, the United Kingdom and the USA. So I'm very much a globetrotter. And of course, I'm very much to this feminist and very active in the field of health activism as well. So that just sums it up.
So, as you know, my subject area is kind of searching the romanticization of certain aesthetics or talks to girls and just youth in general, especially focusing on Hollywood films, and delve into topics on appropriate relationships, self-image problems girls deal with, and also a specific example of how death is seen when it's beautiful women, and that's when it grabs attention. So I want to ask to some of these examples within media, what kind Twisted Inner do you think?
Got my bio details.
Yeah.
There we go.
So hi, I wanted to ask if you can like introduce yourself a little bit, just so people know your interests and what you do.
Yes, of course. I